But more importantly, they said we're bad people. We weren't bad people. We were just basketball players winning. And that really stuck with me because they didn't know who we were or what we were about as individuals in our family life. So all that whining they did, why shake their hand? They were just whiners.
Bill Laimbeer turned basketball games into all-out wars. As the enforcer of Detroit's bad boys Pistons, and also known as the Black Hat, he thrived on chaos, elbows, and making sure his opponents knew who the bully on the court was. But behind his bruising style lay a competitive fire that fueled some of the fiercest rivalries in NBA history. Let's dive into the stories that define a man who embraced his role as basketball's ultimate villain, Charles Barkley, a clash of tough guys. In the world of basketball, there are certain rivalries that transcend the game and turn into heated personal showdowns. For Laimbeer, one of his fiercest battles came against none other than Charles Barkley. Barkley wasn't just another player. He was aggressive and came with the same take no prisoners attitude as Laimbeer. The result? Two of the toughest players the NBA had ever seen collided in games that felt more like street fights than basketball matches. Barkley brought his own trademark style of physical play and refused to back down, getting right in Laimbeer's face every chance he got. Their matchups became legendary in the late 80s and early 90s, particularly during Pistons-Sixers showdowns. Fans never knew if they were watching basketball or a wrestling match. The trash talk between the two only added fuel to the fire. Laimbeer once said about Barkley, "He's all talk." Loud, cocky, and soft when the game gets rough. But Barkley wasn't about to let any insults slide. In his signature style, he fired back, calling Laimbeer the biggest cheap shot artist in NBA history. One unforgettable clash came during a 1990 game that escalated into a shouting match between the two warriors. Laimbeer spent most of the night bodying Barkley with hard fouls and relentless defense. Barkley responded with his own aggression, leading to a moment where teammates had to step in to separate them mid-game. The fans loved it, the referees hated it, and it defined the fiery passion both players brought to winning. These battles went far beyond physicality. They were psychological wars. Barkley tried to out-trash talk Laimbeer, but Laimbeer used every trick in the book to rattle Barkley and throw him off his game. Together, they created some of the most intense and unforgettable matchups in NBA history, a fiery blend of drama and absolute competitiveness. James Worthy, Showtimes Nemesis. When fans think of the bad boys Pistons, they think of grit and chaos. And when they think of the Showtime Lakers, they picture smooth passes and easy execution. At the heart of that clash between opposites was Laimbeer and James Worthy, a rivalry steeped in frustration and sometimes bitter playoff battles. To Laimbeer, Worthy was everything the Pistons weren't. He was fast and almost impossible to stop in transition. It's why Laimbeer made it one of his goals to disrupt Worthy's rhythm every time they met. "Worthy is all finesse," Laimbeer once said in an interview. "He disappears when the games get rough," and Laimbeer made sure they got rough. In fact, he thrived in turning games ugly, believing it gave him an edge over high-skill players like Worthy. On the court, their clashes were an epic collision of skill versus physicality. The Pistons aimed to stop Worthy with relentless defense, hard fouls, and constant pressure. It was basketball's version of a heavyweight fight. Worthy wasn't one to take it lightly, showing no hesitation in dishing out his own hard play or firing back when necessary. Worthy didn't just run the floor, Laimbeer once joked. He hid from the elbows. This animosity reached a peak during the NBA Finals in 1988 and 1989. Both years, the Pistons and Lakers faced off with Worthy, proving why he earned the nickname Big Game James. His clutch performances in the 1988 Finals, including triple-doubles and key plays in the Lakers' Game 7 championship win, drove Laimbeer wild. While Laimbeer's bruising tactics succeeded in slowing down Worthy at times, they could never fully contain him. Their battles were more mental than physical. Worthy knew how to keep his cool, playing with poise, even under the Pistons' relentless pressure. It's why every clash felt more like a clash of opposites, and why their battles are still talked about today. Larry Bird, trash talk, and tough love. If there was one player Laimbeer truly despised, it was Larry Bird. It wasn't just Bird's ability to outshoot everyone on the court or rack up jaw-dropping stats. It was his razor-sharp trash talk and knack for getting under anyone's skin. For Laimbeer, Bird represented everything he hated, and boy, did Bird know it. In the mid-1980s, the Pistons and Celtics faced off during a time when tough, physical basketball ruled the league. Bird was the star of Boston and Laimbeer, the bruiser of Detroit. Their matchups escalated into some of the NBA's most heated showdowns. Laimbeer targeted Bird every chance he got, fouling him hard and using body checks to slow his shooting. Bird? He smirked and swished shot after shot like nothing happened. Bird knew how to play mind games with a player like Laimbeer. During one unforgettable game, Bird drained a jumper over Laimbeer and reportedly sneered, "That's why you'll never win." Laimbeer didn't let that comment slide. The next possession, he fouled Bird so hard it sent him tumbling into the crowd. It was the perfect example of their fiery exchanges, Bird talking, Laimbeer retaliating, and tempers flaring. What made Bird even more infuriating for Laimbeer was his ability to back up his trash talk, whether it was fadeaway jumpers over Detroit's defense or clutch threes in close playoff battles. Bird had a way of silencing the Pistons, even as they tried hitting him with every foul in the book. "Larry gets away with everything," Laimbeer said. "He talks, he flops, and they call him a legend." Robert Parish, silent assassin. When it came to rivalries, few were more heated or physical than the ones between Laimbeer and Robert Parish. Parish, the Celtics' stoic big man, was known for his calm demeanor and ice-cold toughness, a perfect counter to Laimbeer's fiery, antagonistic style. But don't confuse quiet with weak. Parish could dish out punishment just as much as he could take it. And when matched up against Laimbeer, his reserved nature didn't stop him from letting his actions send a loud and bruising message. Their battles were brutal. From the moment the Celtics and Pistons locked horns in the late 80s, Laimbeer made it clear he wasn't going to let the Celtics dominate the paint. Yet Parish wasn't the kind of player easily intimidated. Time and time again, these two went at each other, trading elbows, grabbing rebounds with reckless abandon, and delivering more shoves than shots. But the rivalry reached a boiling point in the 1987 playoffs, during a game that has since become legendary. For years, Laimbeer had perfected the art of getting under Parish's skin. Cheap shots, trash talk, and aggressive fouls. But this time, Parish snapped. In the middle of the game, Parish threw a series of punches at Laimbeer in plain sight of fans and cameras. The crowd erupted, but Parish stayed calm, even after being ejected. For him, it was justice served. Parish later remarked, "We weren't in there to dance. You had to stand your ground or risk losing respect." What's surprising is that while Parish was fined, many players, even those outside the Celtics, sighed in relief. Laimbeer, always unapologetic, dismissed Parish's actions, saying, "He's the real dirty player. You just don't hear about it because he keeps quiet." Parish fired back years later, calling out Laimbeer's obsession with mind games. "You didn't survive him unless you got physical." Michael Jordan, the unstoppable force. If there was one player who went beyond just being a rival to Laimbeer, it was Michael Jordan. To Laimbeer, MJ wasn't just the best player in the league. He was an unstoppable force that stood between the Pistons and their dominance. And for the Pistons' notorious bad boy squad, stopping MJ meant taking the fight to him both physically and mentally. Cue the infamous Jordan rules. These rules were simple but ruthless. Don't let MJ breathe. Every time he stepped into the paint, he faced hard fouls and near constant physical punishment. Laimbeer was the enforcer of this brutal strategy, making sure Jordan felt every inch of Detroit's defensive pressure. Michael wasn't extraordinary, he just got all the calls, Laimbeer once remarked, downplaying Jordan's greatness. But behind closed doors, the Pistons knew what they were dealing with. It wasn't just MJ's skill, but his will to win that made him a nightmare. By 1991, the rivalry took a turn, and it wasn't pretty for Laimbeer. MJ and the Bulls finally overcame Detroit, sweeping the Pistons in the Eastern Conference Finals and marking the end of the bad boys' reign. Laimbeer's frustration was visible as he walked off the court without shaking hands. Jordan later commented, "You beat them, and suddenly they're too proud to face the loss." Though Laimbeer often dismissed Jordan's achievements during interviews, deep down he must have known MJ was destined for greatness. MJ ascended to basketball royalty by dismantling the Pistons, leaving Laimbeer and Detroit behind. Kevin McHale, a mix of skill and grit. When Laimbeer faced McHale, he found himself up against a different kind of rival, not one fueled by brute force, but by finesse and intelligence. McHale, the Celtics' legendary forward, was a nightmare for defenders, with his mix of clever post moves, sneaky defense, and unshakable composure. For Laimbeer, who thrived in chaos, McHale represented everything he couldn't stand. A player who didn't need physical. The rivalry boiled over during gritty Celtics-Pistons playoff matchups in the 80s, where McHale's skill clashed with Laimbeer's bruising style. Mikhail wasn't afraid to call out Laimbeer, saying, "You don't win games by throwing elbows, you win by scoring." Laimbeer's response? Hard fouls, and a refusal to let Mikhail feel comfortable on the court. Despite his quiet demeanor, Mikhail had ways of humiliating Laimbeer through his craftiness. Few could match his ability to outthink defenses in the post, leaving Laimbeer scrambling to stop him. It frustrated Laimbeer to no end, prompting him to label Mikhail as annoying in interviews. He doesn't beat you by being tough. He beats you by being smarter. And sometimes that's worse. One play that stood out came during a heated 1987 playoff game. With mere seconds left on the clock, Mikhail hit a clutch basket over Laimbeer, sealing the Celtics' win. Laimbeer's scowl said it all. Mikhail had beaten him yet again. Years later, Mikhail would reflect on their rivalry, saying, "Laimbeer tried to turn every game into a bar fight. I just played basketball." For Bill Laimbeer, these rivalries weren't just battles on the court. They were wars of identity and pride. Each opponent represented a unique challenge, forcing Laimbeer to embrace his role as the NBA's ultimate antagonist. Love him or hate him, Laimbeer thrived in the chaos, and his rivalries remain some of the most unforgettable stories in basketball history. All right, that's it for this one. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.